Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Steve's traveling today, helping somebody with a visa, and I'm filling in. I'm Rich in the Philippines. And I wanted to talk about today something that happened to me just over the weekend. It happens to a lot of expats and also people living everywhere, really. And that's miscommunications, misunderstandings, which lead to mishaps. So over the weekend, I got a text from a friend. And I was getting ready for bed, and I read the text, and I didn't understand it. And so I read it a couple times, and the more I read it, of course, I read it late at night, the more I didn't understand it. I thought it was saying something, and it made me mad. It didn't make me mad, I just didn't understand it, and I'm like, why is this person telling me this? And so I responded as such. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I don't understand what you're saying. And, if that's what you, and I basically said, if that's how you feel, that's fine. I really have no dog in the fight, whatever. So this text led me to send another text to somebody living in the house besides this person. And I said, WTF. I'm like, what is this person saying to me? Read it and tell me what they're saying. So my friend, who I sent the second text to, he went on to respond back to me with a long text explaining what he thought it meant and what was going on with him. And what was funny, and not really haha funny, is that he had misread my text of me misreading somebody else's text. So it was literally like that game you play when you're a child called telephone. I don't know if you ever played that before, where you whisper a secret in one person's ear and it goes all the way around the room. And at the end, you listen to the last person and you listen to the first person. And oftentimes, they're like night and day. It's not the same thing. So I wondered what to do because my friend's response to me on the second email, it didn't jive with me. And I'm like, what is, it made me uncomfortable and a little pissed. And so I'm like, okay, think about it, And then my friend said, okay, I'll be home tonight, why don't you stop by? And I'm like, okay. So I wasn't going to stop by. I was just going to give it one more day. And I thought, you know what? I better go by. Him and I need to talk. So I went in, I closed this door so nobody else could hear. And I said, hey man, this is what was sent to me. And, and I don't dig it. I don't like the tone or, there was something said about it. I just don't like it. And my friend responded with, I don't think that's what was sent. I'm like, you need to read it. That's what was sent. And to my friend's credit, to a true friend, he's like, he didn't argue with me. He just said, okay, sorry, man. I didn't mean for anything to be misunderstood. And we just kind of talked about misunderstandings in general. And so we parted ways. I went home and actually reread the very first message sent to me. And I'll be damned. I totally misread it. And I don't understand how it happened. But it did happen. So I immediately contacted my first friend and I said, hey, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't read the whole email, even though I thought I had like twice. And then I called up the person who sent the email and I apologized to them. I'm like, hey, I totally misread that. I apologize. And luckily, it was a Filipino and they responded back with, no problem. I forgive you. Apology accepted. And it just kind of moved on from there. And then I realized what happens to people, everywhere around the world. I'm telling you that when I first got here, I would order, let's just say one banana or one donut, and I would end up with 3. Or I would order one meal and I would get 2. And I was like, how is this happening? How is this misunderstanding happening? And then I figured out it was coming from me. It was miscommunication. And so now when I order, one banana or whatever, I go like that. Or when I order something off the menu, I point down and say that's what I want. And on this situation, I realized it's kind of what's going on in our country back home. And I thought, you know what? It's not so much that we don't, talk to each other, because there's a lot of talking going on everywhere. I came to the conclusion that we're not listening to it. In my opinion, we're not listening to each other. I didn't read that right. And I didn't really listen to my friend when he said, I don't really think that's what it was meant. I didn't brush it off. I'm like, yeah, reread it. And I was the one that had to reread it and discover, man, that was my mistake. So I guess that, this video, what I'm saying to people, and if you've had miscommunication with Filipinos, and I'm sure, not just Filipinos, with anybody, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear, how it went for you. Because my situation, at the end of the day, I'm grateful to this friend who just listened to me. He just listened and said, oh, hey, I'm sorry. He didn't want to fight with me back. He just listened and said, hey, okay. And then it's almost like he let me figure it out for myself, which I don't think that's, I told him, reread the email, reread the text. He's like, okay, I will. And then I talked to another friend who had talked to them, and I said, I think you're not reading that correctly. And, at first I was like, oh, yes, I am. Everybody wants to be right and nobody wants to listen. So I reread the email again and again. I'm like, oh, damn. It's kind of clear. I just, for some reason, misread it. So, and I wanted to share it with you for a couple of reasons, because it happens a lot here. And it happens a lot here. And I think that people get upset or frustrated when they think that they're not being heard, or when they think that they're not communicating in a way that's straightforward. Because I've seen it a lot with other expats here, that they'll go into a store or they'll buy something, and the Filipino or whoever will respond in one way, and this person, a lot of expats, they want to duke, where I think a lot of Filipinos are just like, no po, sorry, no stock. And the lesson I learned was listen better, listen more, and listen often. So I'm open. I'll listen to you. Tell me what's on your mind about that. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.